Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode. We are at the first year player draft. We're going to run through the absolute uh, pitching massacre on our injured list right now. We're going to run through that. We're going to run through the the hitters that are carrying the first half of the season. It's July 11th. This felt like a good stopping off point. And we're going to run through the season standings so far. Right now, we are in first in the division. We have the best run differential in baseball. We're supposed to even be better than what we have been so far, but we sign up for this. 10 times out of 10, if this is the way the division looks and this is how we're playing, we take that. Early on, the extra inning in the one-run game wasn't great, but I had Edwin Diaz in the stopper role, and once I shifted him to like that closer role, he's been a lot better. He's still projected for 94 innings out of the bullpen, but he's been so good so far. So now that he's in the closer role, that's that shutdown bullpen ace that you kind of want in like the ninth inning to get your saves. So he's been good. Shohei and Wheeler have been really good. Their ERA pluses are well positive. Their FIP minuses are well negative. The strikeout percentage minus the walk percentage are good, and the strikeout numbers are high. All these numbers are good. They've been carrying the pitching staff so far. Edwin Diaz we talked about. Garrett Crochet's been really really good. He had like a 20 game scoreless streak, something like that. So he's been really good so far. The walks haven't bitten him because he hasn't given up any home runs. So he's been a really nice find in the back of the bullpen. Montes de Oca has come up and given us some good innings. Morejon's been positive. Buto's been good. He was a swingman. He's made 2 starts so far. He's been good, which was a little bit unexpected, but we this is what we built the depth for. He's walking too many guys. He's not striking out enough, and I want to say it's probably BABIP dependent. But if he can carry these results over, then that's fine, right? Yoendris Gomez has been good, not great, but good. His ERA is significantly lower than his FIP, so we're expecting some regression coming. But that is something we kind of anticipated coming in, and he's still only 24. He's got good pitches. His stuff is good. His movement's good. His control is low, which is why he has a 3.3 walk per nine, but he's been good for us. Senga has not. Senga's been really bad all season. He has a 5.3 ERA in 17 starts. The walks are at 3.3 per nine. His strikeouts are low. His BABIP's high. Just nothing's going right for him this season. So we're going to need him to turn it around if we have any hope of making a deep playoff run. I think Senga's got to be better as that 3-4 type. Peterson was having a good AAA season so far. So I just called him up to start for the Mets. He's probably earned it, and I probably kept him down a little too long. But if he keeps up this is a good line in AAA. His walk per nine is still way too high, so that's something we got to worry about. But he hasn't really hurt him so far at AAA, so we're gonna keep him up at the major league level to be a starter for now. Um, Sapucky has been up for 8 2/3 innings. He's been fine as a specialist. Chrismat has been fine. McGill's been a little bit disappointing. He's been average. His numbers are fine, but not great. And his ERA is outperforming his FIP. So this number has to get lower if he's going to have the good season that we expect as one of our back end bullpen pieces. Before we run through the lineup, let's talk about injured list. Quintana's hurt. He was saving games for us, and then we put him as a starter because everybody else got hurt, and then he got hurt himself. He's been out for 6 days. He's out for another 5 weeks, so he's got a 2-month injury with an oblique strain, which is not great, but we should have him back for playoffs. Scherzer has been fine as a number 5. I think we take his line. The ERA hasn't been great, and he hasn't been great all season, and he's definitely not worth this $43 million contract. I had floated an idea of an extension, and yeah, that's more money than I think we're going to give him. He's been out since it's like a 2 week injury for Scherzer, so he comes back. But if Buto's pitching well and Peterson's pitching well, then maybe Max gets bumped to the bullpen. We don't know. He hasn't been great. His walks are up, his strikeouts are down, his whip is high. Not a good season for Max so far. Verlander's been good, not great, which is a lot of these guys right now. He also just has gotten roughed up in his last few starts. This was a no-hit bid, actually. He went 8 innings, and then the first batter of the ninth, he gave up the single to, I want to say, who was it? Let's go to the game log. Let's find out. His first hit of the Nick Solak. He gave up a really hard hit single, and then Quintana came to close it out. Nick Solak, who's hitting 157 on the season, broke up his no-hit bid. That's just kind of the way it goes. But he's hurt. Oh, no, sorry. Verlander, he's been out for a month already. He's out for another 2 weeks. It's a 2-month hamstring injury for him. But, he's been pitching fine. Not the Cy Young Award winner of last season, but expecting that again was probably foolish. So, as a number 3, number 4, if ideally, Max comes back, Verlander comes back, Quintana comes back, and that's 3 more starters to throw into this mix, then one of these guys gets bumped between Max or Quintana or Verlander, and then a couple of these guys get bumped for playoffs, right? Like, we only go with like a 3 or 4-man rotation in the playoffs. So if Senga can pick it up, it's really a battle for that 3rd spot right now between Verlander, Senga, Scherzer, Peterson, and Buto, who gets the ball. So we have some decisions, but this is why we build the depth, right? This is why we build and bump Quintana to the bullpen. This is why we have Peterson and Buto down in AAA. This is why we have like a guy like Yoendris Gomez who made 1 start, or Crismont who can start, or Morejon who can start. It's for that reason. Arrighetti got hurt. He's been below average, but I think it's the extreme fly ball, his lack of movement. But his stuff is cool, so if he's in a place where that extreme fly ball isn't really an issue, then I think he can thrive. I like him. I like the stuff, but I'm not afraid to move off him if necessary. And Sixto Sanchez had a setback with his elbow injury. He hasn't even pitched yet, so we have nothing to go off of from Sixto yet. As to the lineup, it's been top heavy. Lindor's been so good all season. He's been hitting right around 300 with a 350 on base, of mid to high 4 slugging. His OPS plus has been good, and he's almost hit his WAR total from last year already in about 70 fewer games. He has been really good at the top of the lineup, and we've needed it because we've had a lot of guys kind of slumping guys. Jeff McNeil, who's been awful. In his defense, he got hurt early, and I don't remember what the injury was. He had a quad soreness for 5 days to start the year. This was like the 2nd game of the season against Miami, and an intercostal strain, which cost him 3 weeks with another week for his rehab assignment, and then I pulled him back up. But he's developed this fragile injury proneness, and we don't like that. He has picked it up so far in July. He's been better, but June was dismal, and May was dismal, and April was below average. So he's got a lot of work to do to kind of get that back. He doesn't play against lefties anymore. I pulled that from him because he's been that bad. And we're sticking him at 2nd, but he could theoretically, if one of these guys pops, he could play 2nd and 3rd and left and right, and we'd be okay with that. Mason Wynn has just been called up. He's played in 5 games. He's gotten 18 plate appearances, but he has 6 hits and 4 of them are doubles. He's only struck out 3 times so far. He's been good to start. He was really, really good at AAA, so we just kind of needed to push him up, get him some at-bats at the major league level, and he's playing every day against lefties, and he's the backup middle infielder against righties, and he should be playing every 5th against righties. So he's playing a lot, and I hope he kind of I mean, it's unreasonable to expect a 200 WRC plus from Mason Wynn, but if he can still be productive, then then that's good. Turner's been fine, but as the last guy on the bench, I think, whatever, as long as this number stays positive, we're fine. Nito's WAR total has also stayed fine because he's not hitting 183, 242, 262 this year. It's not much better than that, but it's if he hits with an OPS plus of 70, he's positive, and that's what he's done so far. He's an expiring this year, so who knows what we'll do about that backup catcher spot next season. But that's a ways away. Marte's been good. He's hitting towards the bottom of the lineup, which I think is probably more apt for what he's done this season. His strikeout percentage is a little high. His walk percentage is low. He puts a lot of balls in play, and that kind of carries his value. But he's been fine, right? Like that's totally fine. Vientos has been good, which is great because he needed to really bounce back from that disaster of a season last year. He's playing a lot in different spots. He's playing a lot of first. He's playing a lot of third, a lot of left, a lot of right. His defense is not good in the outfield, but whatever. His bat's good enough to be in the outfield. We're not playing him at second. That's. I hope that disappears. Nimmo has been really, 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 really bad. His glove has been good, but he's been really bad everywhere else. That's pitching. His April was a 64 OPS plus, 88, 60. And July, he's turned it up a little bit once we dropped him down into the order. He's now hitting ninth every day. So if he can be that second leadoff hitter at the bottom of the order, that's fine. But he's just had a terrible season so far. And he's somebody that needs to pick it up. He's making too much money to give this kind of value. He's making $20 million every year for the next 6, right? Like, we need more from Nimmo. And his on base is not good either. That's his main tool, is his eye. His walk percentage is only 11%. That's less than Beatty, who's a rookie, by the way. He's been playing really good. We don't have to touch on him too much. Excuse me. The power number's not great. He's hitting a lot of singles, but he's been good so far. And at the third base spot, that bat is what carries him anyway. So he's been good. Alvarez has not. He started really cold, and then he had a good May, an awful June, and he's picked it up in July. So this seems to be the theme with him, is he'll have one really good month and one really bad month for whatever reason, and he just can't string together a really good stretch other than 20 games at a time. And his bat against lefties is what's carrying his value right now. He's too good, and he's making too much money to be a platoon bat right now. But a pleasant scenario is if he can increase this catcher defense, which kind of happened out of nowhere. Here, defense bumped up to 50, so it kind of happened out of nowhere, and it's not unwelcome if he can be a better defensive catcher to mitigate these offensive issues he seems to go through. Siani's been a special defender in center, but the bat has not been as good, and that's fine. We don't need his bat. We need his glove, and he's been playing a lot just because Nimmo needs his time cut into, and Siani's been so good defensively. Ohtani's been great offensively. I wish it was a little better because that's kind of the MVP we signed up for, is not a 127 WRC+. It's a 180 like Pete's right now, but he's still hitting the ball hard. He's hitting a lot of home runs, and he's been everything we could really ask for. Pete is on a tear. He has been the MVP of the first half so far. He has 37 home runs. He's on pace for 68, and he's just hitting so well. He's seeing everything well, and it hasn't really cooled off yet. 169, 201, 147, and a 305 in July, so far. He's been so good, and June has been his worst month so far at a 147 OPS plus, and May was probably the best month of his whole career at this point. So he could be due for some regression, but He also could just keep it up and hit 68 home runs. He could hit 70. Who knows? So he's definitely benefiting from having Otani in the lineup and Lindor playing well. And we hit Lindor already. So uh, the offense, this is where I wanted to go, has been good, not great, right? The run scored is good. The average, the on base, and the OPS have not been good, but the overall WAR and the home runs and the stolen bases are all up. So they're hitting a lot of home runs, which is driving their offensive value. And the pitching staff is what's leading this team. This is probably the best pitching staff in the league right now. The defense has been really, really good too. Even with some not so great defenders and Beatty and Vientos and Alvarez and Pete, but those guys up the middle, your Nito, your Ciani, your Lindor, even your Jeff, those guys are good defensively, and that helps a lot. Excuse me. So that's pretty much the recap so far. I think in the next episode we'll play through the draft. I haven't even looked at any of the players yet. We'll play through the draft. I usually don't really enjoy the first year player draft. It's not something I find all that fun, especially with TCR and the money, and it just doesn't really do it for me. But we'll play through. We'll see these upcoming prospects. We'll see who's coming up, and I think that's where we'll leave it for this episode. So thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you in the next episode.